Hey, what's going on? Welcome to The Doug Show. My name's Doug Huntington, and in this episode, I talked to Shawna Newman of skipblast.com, and we're going to talk about a case study that she's been working on for a little while. And this will be a kind of a great contrast compared to our normal affiliate site model. And recently I talked to Alex Cooper at WP Eagle, and he sold his site for $70,000, mostly focused on affiliate marketing. Now, I'll let Shawna tell you a little bit about the site, but like I said, it's going to be quite a contrast, and we're going to hear some of the details here. So, Shawna, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back.
For the people that don't know you, can you give us a little bit of an intro of who you are and what you do?
Sure. I blog at skipblast.com, and I've been building niche sites and content sites for more than a decade. I do primarily affiliate-based sites. And that's basically my full-time job.
And I've interviewed you before, so people can rewind and listen to some other episodes if they want to check out some of your other accomplishments and that sort of thing. So for this particular case study, you've been working on it for a little while, I think 8 months. So I'm going to sort of skip ahead. And where are we at as far as earnings and traffic at this point in time?
So right now I'm on track for $400 just from Ezoic this month. I haven't checked any of the affiliate earnings yet, but I don't expect there to be much. There was only $12.50 last month. So that's where we're at for income, and traffic is just right around 32,000 a month. So the traffic is going well, but the income is a little slow.
And for, I guess, like a normal affiliate site where you have a lot more experience, would you expect the traffic to be higher or lower than that, 30K mark at this point?
I think the traffic is actually doing pretty well for the amount of work that I've put in. But in terms of revenue, with my affiliate sites, I should be at like $2,000 to $3,000 a month on average for me. So it's quite the drastic difference for me.
Okay. And I think that's something to highlight. So what's the big difference? You're getting quite a bit of traffic. You're happy with the amount of traffic. Why is the revenue so much lower?
Well, I'm making right now, every single post is informational. So like how-tos, how do I, can I, just things like that. So I think I have a total of 3 affiliate links on the entire site so far. There's 250 posts on the site. I did add like 70 of those last month, so they're not all aged right now. But I'm getting, I think, around $10 RPM for every 1,000 views. Whereas with an affiliate site, you'd be getting like $70 for your RPM. So that's really the big difference, is that payout that you get.
Okay. And, I'll speculate. So with the keywords where someone is actually looking to buy a product is a lot more valuable just in general.
Yes.
They have some kind of, there's money behind it. Like when you break it down versus the how-to, someone is just asking, how do I wire a light bulb or something like that?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite the difference.
Interesting. So let's rewind then and talk about the beginning of this case study, because there's something a little different about this one, right?
Yes, it's on an age domain that I got from ODYS. It cost me just over $2,000 to get the domain. When I bought it, it had like 150, 160 niche relevant links. And the DR was 40 something, was low 40s, I believe. So I knew as soon as I started posting content that the things would start ranking well, and they did. So it's not surprising that my traffic is doing as well as I expected. But I've never done a purely informational content type of site before, focused just on display ads. So it's quite the shock for me.
All right. Now, does this niche and maybe domain, does it have the flexibility to add those product reviews to maybe earn more money now that you have a lot of traffic and Google likes you and everything?
Yes, it definitely does. It's not a super broad niche, but broad enough that I can go for Amazon, I can go for private affiliate programs, things like that. I've actually just ordered a bunch of content. I'm being quite ambitious. I'm going after CBD keywords. So I'm going to have a whole basically content cluster on CBD to see, because that pays like, I don't know, like $40 per sale. So I'm going to try that out.
Oh, wow. That'll be pretty amazing. So with this site, you said there's about 250 articles. Can you tell us about the content plan and sort of the trajectory of, publishing 70 articles last month? So obviously you're kind of ramping up at this point.
So when I started the site, I had over 100 keywords that I'd identified as article topics. And so I was just kind of going through those initially. And then as I was doing more keyword research, I would find, more article topics. And I still have hundreds of things in my spreadsheet to get to. So I'm trying to get through them as fast as I can, because I would like to flip this site as soon as possible. So that's kind of my plan for it.
Now, one thing that I started a new site about a year ago, and I was sort of leaning into the normal things that I do, which is around these product review type keywords. And I publish informational content too. After a little while, I saw that the informational content was doing better. So I'm just going to lean into that, because I'm flexible and I'm going to adapt, and I'm not going to push the boulder up the hill. So have there been any spots in this case study so far where you've seen how the site's reacting and now you're sort of changing what your initial plan was, or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that I'm doing that specifically. I did do a test where I was trying to use duplicate content. It wasn't 100% duplicate content. So like, let's use the coffee niche as an example, because I was recently using that with someone else. Let's say I was doing a series of posts on how to make X type of coffee drink. So my intro would be unique. The specifics of that particular coffee drink would be unique, but my closing would be the same. Maybe there'd be like a couple of sections in the middle where it'd be identical to every other how to make this type of coffee post. And I wasn't really sure if this was going to work or not, but I have feature snippets for all of those articles. So the one thing I have changed is I'm using more duplicate content across posts now than I've ever done before.
Very interesting. Where did you get that idea?
I lurk in the Fat Stacks forum under a pseudonym, and I had seen a guy about a year ago saying he was ranking with duplicate content like that. And I was like, there's no way that can work. And so I was like, well, this is a test site anyway, so I'll just try it out. And it works.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I've heard someone else mention or suggest that to me, like in a private conversation, and they saw an example of a site that was doing this, where it was highly templated. A person can think of it that way, where it was a very specific kind of content, where every single thing in that cluster could just essentially use the same format, sometimes the same closing. And about what percentage would you say was actually a duplicate in the intro and conclusion, is what it sounded like?
I would say 60 to 70% of every post. I actually ended up testing this on a different site in a different niche, and I have featured snippets on it as well. So I think the key is just having that unique intro.
Wow. So unique intro, and then you have the unique characteristics for that recipe.
Right.
And then you have sort of the conclusion is kind of the same. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm just changing out keywords. Like I would change out latte for, I don't know, flat white or something. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy. I'm just trying to think how I can use this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Have you figured out how to roll that out to some of your other sites?
I don't think it can work across, you couldn't do an entire site like that. But I think you can definitely do content clusters like that. So you could have an entire content silo where every article is like that. So I'm trying to do more of that. But the thing is you can't really outsource those articles, because you don't want to pay someone to and say, hey, copy this closing and copy this section. So that kind of is, kind of creating a problem as well. So because that I have to write those posts myself. So.
Okay. Well, and actually let's talk about some of that. So you do outsource quite a bit, but you write a lot yourself. So can you tell us how you treat that well, I was going to say in this specific case study, but how do you treat it across your portfolio of sites?
I basically outsource the stuff that I'm just not interested in writing, or I think it will take me too long to write myself. So anytime I'm doing like buying guides or product reviews, I don't want to deal with that. So I outsource that 100% of the time. If something is really technical, I will outsource it, or I have some sites in niches where, like, I don't know how to say this, I'll give away my niche, but don't want to write the content because it is upsetting to me to write it. So I would rather have someone else kind of take on that burden for me. And then I just post it without even basically looking over it or anything like that.
Okay. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. It would be like if it was the puppy kicking niche, right?
Right.
You wouldn't want to do that.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
And so when you found the niche, you said you had like 100 keywords or so, mm-hmm. and you have 250 at this point. How mm-hmm. big do you think this site can be? What's your sort of goal?
I mean, I think it could be well over 1,000 posts. It's, like I said, it's not super broad, but it's broad enough to support that. And there's a lot of sub niches within it. I'm trying to keep it relatively broad now so that when I do flip it, there will still be plenty of opportunities for whoever buys it. I would say that by the time I flip it, it'll have probably at least 500 posts on it, though.
All right. What's the trigger for selling it?
For me, whenever I sell it, it's really a variety of things. It could be a certain amount of income, a certain amount of time, or if I notice the niche is getting too difficult and I don't feel like I can take it any further. The niche for this specific site, I'm not interested in personally. So I don't really have any plans for it other than affiliate and display ads. So definitely when I max out those opportunities, ideally I'd like to flip it once it hits at least $3,000, but if it's growing like really fast, I'll probably hold on to it longer than that.
Okay. And roughly that $3,000 per month mm-hmm. mark will get you to six figures or more probably, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. And as far as, I guess, social media or sharing, mm-hmm. or is there any activity that you're doing for this site in those areas?
Yeah, I actually just started a Pinterest account for it about a month ago. Something I've been meaning to do for months, and I just had been putting it off because I knew it would do well. And then I had people telling me, oh, Pinterest is dead. It's not going to work. And I got 100 visits from Pinterest to my site the first month. So it definitely is still working, and it's working well, obviously, already. And I've noticed in my niche, there is a site that has a YouTube channel. And they're just like making videos in like POW tunes or something. And they have a lot of subscribers and a lot of views. So I'm going to start doing that as well. Okay.
And with the Pinterest stuff, is that mm-hmm. something that you have done in the past and you're experienced?
Yeah, I have a site right now that gets anywhere from 15 to 20,000 visits a month just from Pinterest.
Okay. Well, let's explore some of that. Is that particular niche like really active and great for Pinterest?
No, not at all. I just tried it and it worked.
So what's your strategy just broadly? And pretend like I'm an idiot and I don't know anything about Pinterest, which is roughly true.
Well, I know I've told you in previous interviews, I'm super lazy in terms of like spending a lot of time on anything. So I want the highest ROI with the lowest effort. So for me, whenever I make a new post, I go to Tailwind, which is a paid tool, but you can get a free trial for like 100 pins. I'll pin it immediately. And they used to call them tribes, but that's apparently taboo now. I don't know what they call them, maybe communities. So I go in there and I share my pin there. People repin it and that's it. I don't do anything else, just that one time.
That sounds remarkably simple.
Yeah, I actually have a guy who's a student who started following my process, and he's now making $2,500 a month with a site less than a year old using Pinterest traffic.
Mostly Pinterest. Yeah, I just never got into it. I did try it out with a site that should have done pretty well, mm-hmm. I think, but for whatever, maybe it was too competitive. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I never got traction, and then I'm not a user of Pinterest personally, so I just thought, I'll just let it go. That's amazing.
It usually takes a really long time to get traction on there, like usually 3 to 6 months before you start getting traffic. So I'm actually kind of surprised I'm already getting traffic on this site. So
very cool. And Anything else, social media wise or other sources of traffic?
No, it's mostly Google right now. I do also plan on starting a Facebook page and testing that out with it, but I haven't even done that or built a new, like an email list or anything.
Okay. Very good. So could be a lot of articles. You said probably 500 by the time you sell it. Do you have all the sort of rest of the keywords scoped out or any kind of clusters in a broad sense?
Yeah, I still have probably hundreds in my spreadsheet. And you know how keyword research is, you go look for one thing and then 3 hours later you've, found other things. So I keep adding to that list.
Yeah, that happened to me the other day. I was just doing some competitor analysis and taking a look and then realized that I had a giant spreadsheet with way more rows than I thought. So
Yeah.
when you look at a cluster, is there anything specific that you're like trying to find? Is there a minimum number of keywords, or can you just talk about that process for your clusters?
Well, if I'm testing out like a new kind of topic for a site, what I like to do is just do 5 posts. If some of those are harder to rank than others, then I'll do a mixture. And then I'll give it like a month to see how those rank before I do any more, because I don't want to waste my time on a bunch of content that's not going to rank, So I feel like 5 is a good number just to kind of interlink between each other to really give you that kind of boost to see if you're going to get it in the end or not.
So you internally link those 5 articles. You said you wait about a month or so?
Yeah.
And what are you looking for to tell you that it's a good idea to do more?
Within that month, I want to see it on page 1 or 2. Like I was recently testing out a cluster on one of my sites, and within a month it popped on page 6, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing anymore. That was not worth my time. So.
Okay. And then is there sort of a maximum size for the cluster where maybe you have to divide it into a sub cluster? I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs.
No. I'll max it out as long as I can take it. I have a site in the outdoors niche, which most people know, and I recently was working on a jet ski topic cluster. And I think I've got like 50 or 60 of those out right now, and I've got well over 100 topics to go. So,
wow. That could be a whole site on its own. Jet skis, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Those are fun. They're so dangerous, though.
Right? Oh my God, yes. I've learned so much. They're terrifying.
So, okay, so the clusters will be as big as they need to be. Now,
right.
How do you handle the internal linking at that point? So let's say you have 75 articles. I assume you're not internally linking all 75 to each other.
Right.
So how do you do that?
So when I'm making my master list of titles, I note in another column, make sure I link X to Y and things like that. And then as I post those, I refer back to the spreadsheet. Oh, I have to make sure I go find this other title and link it. And that's just how I do it.
Okay. So fairly manual, and you're planning it out initially. So you're really architecting the whole thing versus I use Link Whisper often, but sometimes you don't get the suggestions that you're looking for, or if you're building again, you're architecting it. So you're getting all the keywords and then where you should link as you go. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I like to plot it all out from the start.
So from that standpoint, is there a maximum number of links that you would hit? And then you think, oh, well, I can't link out anymore from this article because I've already linked so many times.
No, I just do whatever I think seems natural and don't even worry about it. I don't worry about the anchor text I use to link them or anything. So.
Okay. Well, that was my next question. So you use whatever is most natural to link to it. Very good. And when you peel it all away, it does make sense, because if someone's a blogger and they're just trying to provide references and the right information in case someone wants to learn more, that's what you would do. You would do exactly what you're talking about versus, crazy SEOs trying to surgically
getting that perfect percentage.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm very guilty of this. I've been trying to sort of sculpt that anchor text percentage a little bit better, because I think I was underdoing it before because I was so paranoid. And I think sometimes, like, it does make sense to use the exact match anchor text because that's literally what you're linking to. So,
Yeah.
so that said, would you say it's fairly heavy on keyword rich, maybe not exact match, but keyword
Oh
rich?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And based on my testing, like one internal link is worth 3 to 5 outbound like guest post links and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth it to do more internal linking because it can save you on having to pay for backlinks and stuff.
Okay. And I think that's another area where I didn't have enough like internal linking. There was plenty, but you know, with a site with hundreds of articles, you might be able to link dozens of times to a specific article that you're trying to rank, which is pretty powerful. Okay. Very good. Well, where do you see the site going as far as earnings? Can you predict any of the trajectory that may be coming up in the next, say, 12 months or so?
I had seen a guy do a case study in the niche. I don't know how close our sites were, but within 2 years, he was making $6,000 a month from mostly display ads. And that's kind of what got me interested in this particular niche. Right now, it's on Ezoic. I tried applying for Mediavine early last week. They told me no. And, you know, people say that when you moved up the chain, Mediavine and AdThrive, you gain in your RPM. So I'm going to test that out and hope that that's the case. I saw a guy recently actually on Reddit talking about being on AdThrive. He's in the same niche as me, but I don't know how close we are. And I think he was making like $22 for his RPM. So that'd be double, obviously, what I'm at right now.
Okay. And are you predicting that you potentially could be making more than the 6,000, you know, that the person inspired you?
Oh yeah. I mean, assuming that they weren't going after things like CBD and I can actually make it rank, then I think that I can see a sharp rise in the income. I'm going to try a few things like that pay out like per action very high.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's great, you know, once you figure out the different options that are out there. I mean, you have to go and find those deals. And how did you find that particular opportunity?
I was actually doing competitor research and I saw someone who had a post recommending it. And I was like, oh, I should be thinking more outside the box here. That's really not this niche, but would work. And so I did some research, you know, share, sell and stuff and found some programs I'm going to try.
Okay. And do you think it'll convert pretty well, or do you have any sense?
I think it will. So for the CBD articles, I have an article that ranks really well that's not CBD related, but that is an ailment, we'll say, that you can use CBD for. And so if I can use that to funnel people to my CBD content cluster, my thoughts are that I'll get a few sales a month at least.
Okay. That's awesome. And then I guess once you realized you should think outside of the box a little bit, did you find any other opportunities, maybe that wouldn't work for your niche specifically, but maybe other people can look in those areas too?
I did see some interesting things for different types of insurance stuff, if that's anyone's niche who could work, that paid quite well. And I was like, oh, I should think about finding a site for this, but I don't need any more sites. So
yeah.
I didn't look.
All right. Well, anything else specifically about this case study that I didn't ask you about that's kind of interesting that maybe we should talk about?
I don't think so. The biggest interesting thing for me is how different the income trajectory is doing a display ad monetized site that's focused on that versus affiliate. And, you know, I've been in this industry for a long time and I didn't even know that. So it was pretty shocking.
And especially when you see the traffic growing and you're thinking, oh, this is growing faster than we would expect. And then it's just not paying nearly as much. Well, and the thing is now you're identifying other areas where maybe now that you have this traction, you'll be able to jump pretty quickly to some other milestones. Very cool. Well, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and ask about your portfolio. So you said, I don't need any more sites. So how many sites do you have going on right now?
So I have like 32 right now because I just started 2 new ones this past week. So yeah, I have a serious problem. So yeah.
So how big is your team that you're working with?
Well, I've recruited my wife to do keyword research and to edit articles. And other than that, I just outsource content here and there. And then it's just me.
Okay. Well, I like a lean team, but that
Yeah.
sounds absolutely bananas with the 32. So how many are you like actively touching per day? How about that?
I like to work on quarterly basis. So I try to focus on no more than 5 per quarter, unless something just like really takes off and needs to be prioritized. I do have 2 sites that I intend to sell either at the end of this year or the first of next year. So those are being worked on every quarter with content updates and kind of tweaking some old posts and stuff like that. But most of my sites are, they're in various stages of profitability and stuff like that. Some of them aren't making anything because they're pretty new. So whenever I start these new sites, like I just started, I like hustle to get like, 30 to 50 posts up, and then I just kind of leave them and let them marinate for a while.
Okay. That sounds a lot more manageable, but still that 32, it stresses me out just for you, just thinking about
Yeah.
it.
Well, some of them are older, so they're kind of running on autopilot. So it's just like making updates to tables and stuff each month.
Got it. And how often do you sell sites?
I usually sell several a year, but what I did before I moved to the Netherlands is I sold 2 of my bigger sites so that I could do nothing for the whole time I was there. So I haven't sold anything since late 2019, and I probably won't sell anything till later this year.
Got it. And from, again, another high level question here. You've been in the industry for a while and you've sold
Mhm.
several sites.
Mhm.
What sort of trend do you see us moving in, I guess, for the next 12 or 18 months or so?
I think it's obvious to anybody who gets those Empire Flippers emails every Monday that the multiple is just getting crazier and crazier and crazier, which, is great for people like me who sell sites. I don't know what that ceiling is actually going to be, though, for people who are buying sites. I recently saw some that were over 50x, which is insane to me because of Google updates and whatnot. So I think it will continue to climb a little bit, and then we're going to stabilize back down because those multiples are just crazy.
It's pretty alarming to see.
Mhm.
And just as a reference point, I mean, a lot of times, or for the last several years, if, a 30x multiple is, pretty average, it could be a little
Mhm.
higher, a little lower, but 30x is pretty average. And on the high side, it would be like maybe the high 30s, would you say, Shawna?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then if you're looking in the 40s, then it's often some kind of a strategic play where maybe an e-commerce site
Right.
is buying an affiliate site, and they can obviously funnel the traffic over and utilize and make a lot more money than a normal affiliate. So
Mhm.
very crazy. Any other observations aside from the crazy multiples?
I think we're going to see more and more people moving towards display ads, just because more people are talking about how basically easy that content is to write and rank. So I think people who are in it already or who get in it soon are going to have the advantage because, Mediavine has already increased their requirements, and who knows if they're going to do it again. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I see that sort of trend as well because
Mhm.
Amazon changes their commission rate,
Yeah.
and, a lot of us talk about it, and it has hit people hard. So
Mhm.
folks are definitely leaning into more informational content, a lot more keywords too.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm in a group where people just sell their sites in a Facebook group, and I've been noticing people saying that they're buying sites, but they don't want anything with Amazon as the monetization. So there's already people in those groups who are going completely away from Amazon.
And I find that interesting that they would just say, we don't want anything to do. I mean, people still buy a
Yeah,
lot of shit on Amazon though.
yeah, yeah. And
So,
anybody who's tested other offers on their page knows that they'll click on Amazon more than like Walmart or anything else.
right. And I don't have an issue with Walmart, and I still often will buy from Amazon, just habit, I guess. I don't know. It's easy to order. It's a little easier to order. I don't have the Walmart app on my phone or anything. So,
Yeah, I don't buy from Amazon simply because they closed my account all those years ago, and I'm still salty about it. But
yeah.
yeah.
That's legit though. I mean, I try to buy from other places if I can. But sometimes it's just convenient and cheaper, but I respect that. I mean, Amazon's trying to take over the world. They're probably listening to us recording this now.
Probably.
Probably using their servers to store the data too. So anyway, okay. Well, any other observations? I think people will find it interesting from a veteran like you.
I don't think so. I have been noticing people trying to get by applying for writing jobs using AI written content. So if people are hiring and not really reading their samples, they should start paying attention.
Oh, okay. So have you used any of these AI tools out there?
I tested one just to see, but I mean, it's basically an article spinner from, 2008 or earlier. So no.
Okay. That is so funny that you just said that. Someone just described to me their process for using one of those tools. And I thought, well, that sounds like an article spinner.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And it's just using a different, what is it? The GP3T?
Something like that. I felt like the only difference was I no longer had to put the little words in the brackets for it to change out the keywords I wanted, Yeah, it was basically the same.
That's funny. Yeah, I checked a couple of those out, but it's unreadable garble. I think now it's a little bit better. You still have to edit it and all that, but your whole point was perfect. If people are using writers, make sure it's not just spun content. And I've actually had a couple students say, hey, yeah, I ordered it from a writer, but it seemed like it almost looked like it was spun content. And if they're turning it around too quick, that could be it.
Yep, definitely.
Very cool. Well, I know one thing that we talked about before was your Haro link building and the success that you had. You also have a service, so that's going pretty well. We talked off the record earlier, so that's going awesome. Do you want to give a plug for it, kind of talk about what you do with your service and what a person might expect?
Yeah. So I have a small team. There's 5 of us now. 5 hires and me. And basically, our main package is 3 months, and we guarantee 5 links. And when that 3 months is up, if we haven't gotten you the 5 links, then we keep working. We actually just had our first instance of having to do that this past week, just because of some changes with Haro. But, we're still working. So like I said, we guarantee those 5 links.
And are there let's say I think my niche is really weird and I don't think you would be able to get the links. Do you run into that? Do you turn away clients because you don't think it's viable?
Yeah, we've actually started being a lot more selective simply because a lot more of the journalists who use Haro are requiring a LinkedIn profile to kind of vet that it's a real person. And we have a lot of clients who have Amazon affiliate sites with a persona and no LinkedIn. So that kind of hurts us in being able to help those people. We're also seeing a lot of fitness queries that you have to be a certified personal trainer at a minimum to answer. So we can't take as many fitness clients on as we used to. So those are some of the challenges that we're having. Usually people, if they aren't sure, they email us and ask. Like we had someone who has an adult site yesterday to email and ask. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, we can't. We actually have a CBD client right now who I thought we could get links for, and we've only gotten 2 in almost the 3 months. So it's been a real challenge for that niche.
Wow. And I guess what kinds of sites work really well for Haro link building?
We're having a lot of success in the beauty niche right now, finance. Some travel people are doing well with us, and some we're having a little bit of a struggle with. We actually do Haro for a lot of SEO agencies. Those we're doing the best with right now. And let's see, we had some fitness clients that we were doing well with, but now it's only the people who have the personal trainer certification.
Okay. And what changes did Haro make?
I don't really think it was so much the people behind Haro, but just the journalists, because I think people like me are talking about it everywhere now. So many affiliate site owners are using it. It's common to see people say, if you answer every query, don't bother responding. If you're just looking for a link back, don't bother responding. So we've also had a few where the journalist says that they want to do a phone interview. So we've asked the clients and gotten the okay, but they don't actually want to do a phone interview. They're kind of using that as a vetting process.
Oh, very
So that's been pretty
interesting.
interesting.
Okay. Gotcha. Very cool. Well, we'll put links so people can check out the offering specifically.
Mhm.
And I've used it and it worked fantastic. So I can personally recommend it. So,
Oh, you were actually our longest link now. I noticed the other day we finally got a link that came through for you, and we started your thing back in December, so it took over 5 months.
holy cow.
Yeah.
That's great. Is it in the sheet? Can I just look at that sheet? I can't
I
remember.
don't know if we put in there or not. I only noticed it because we had another client that we had at the same time that we still have who got in the same roundup. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, that was Doug's site. We did that one too.
Gotcha. Very interesting. Yeah, and I have so many other links coming I wouldn't even notice. So awesome. Well, Shawna, where can people find you?
Just skipblast.com.
All right. Great. So we'll link all that stuff up. And thanks a lot. Always great to catch up with you.
Yep, it was a fun time.